So this is about 13 minutes to midday, 11:47 GMT, which coincides with the local time as well in Britain, which is 11:47 on Friday, the 5th of November, 2021. And this is part A of the Khoodeelaar television broadcast on the theme of BabyAngelGeronimo that appears there, just to the left of my head. That is, the BabyAngelGeronimo theme is absolutely spot on. And this is the Times. These are in terms of publishing in Fleet Street. This is absolutely a remarkable, exceptional, remarkable 2 words. Johnson's shame. Now, Boris Johnson has been shamefully paraded and promoted by the Times, even when the evidence has been absolutely opposed to that kind of shameful promotion. So to say that Johnson's shame is historic in terms of the publishing recorded history of the Times, this is absolutely unique. And that is the symptom, that's the sign that even the Times, which is owned and politically controlled by Rupert Dirty Digger Murdoch, that shows that Johnson cannot overcome this conclusion that the forces that control the Conservative SCUM party have decided that Johnson cannot deliver any plausible agenda. And the Times is not alone, of course, it's the Daily Mail, whose role has been recognized by The Guardian yesterday, that Johnson is very focused on what the newspapers say, and in particular what the Daily Mail says. And the Daily Mail is saying, is anybody in charge at number 10? Now that is still supporting Johnson, because they are not saying that Johnson should go. They are saying, is anybody in charge at number 10? And in the 2-page spread there, they are still supporting Johnson. They are not saying as directly as the Times is saying, because the Daily Mail piece is written by one of the most disgracefully shameless promoters of Conservative and promoters of Johnson and promoters of everything that is cruel, corrupt, and contemptuous of democracy, who is Andrew Pierce. And his headline is on Inside Story of 24 Hours that humbled PM. They don't call him humbled Johnson. And the And the Guardian Online has a piece byline to Simon Jenkins, who is using the word cabal. Now for more than 16 years, we have been publishing posts calling Johnson a liar. So Simon Jenkins has taken a lot of time before admitting that Johnson is a liar. And even there, he's not. Even Simon Jenkins is not yet calling him a liar. And the Steve Bell cartoon about Johnson, Johnson and Jacob Rees-Mogg, but somehow the evidence exists for the Guardian to openly say that Johnson is a liar, but so that actually exposes the limitations of Fleet Street, which is really to blame for the very fact that Johnson is in number 10 Downing Street at all. And they've got on page 9 as a kind of play on the overhyped statement, which is actually scripted by somebody else for Thatcher, but for which Thatcher is given the credit, which is that the lady is not for turning. And the Guardian on page 9 is saying the Prime Minister is for turning. The many changes of policy direction under Johnson's leadership. Now, this is not changes of policy direction. This is many instances of Johnson being caught lying and caught being dysfunctional. So, as I said, the Daily Mail, the Times, and the Guardian, which are apparently running critical pieces about Johnson, are not telling the whole truth. But the two-word editorial title in the Times is historical. Johnson's shame. We are the only ones, we are the only platform that calls Johnson a liar in the detailed. Whether we do. So we shall come to that more. This is the piece. Johnson's shame has got the details in the subheading. The Prime Minister's decision to lead an assault on the integrity of the political system has spectacularly backfired on him, his government, and his party. The lasting political damage is surely to Johnson's standing with his MPs and his party. They already knew that he ran a chaotic Downing Street operation and that his government lacks clear underlying principles. Now they know his political judgment is thin-eared, that he is bound to cost the Prime Minister the next time he asks his party to back him on an issue with which they feel uncomfortable. He may have lost that most precious commodities for any leader, the benefit of the doubt. Now, the benefit of the doubt is the conclusion of that paragraph, the last paragraph. And we shall come to that kind of incomplete and half-honest editorial. After looking at these letters under the main heading, Paterson debacle and public trust in members of parliament. And this person called Tom Brake, director, Unlock Democracy. Now, Tom Brake is not an ordinary writer of the letters to the Times. He's one of the front bench MPs in the Lib Dems that lost the last time. And this Tom Brake is also a kind of proven liar himself. And so therefore his letter is to be qualified with that description. So the front page of the Times this is wrong. It's not backlash of the party that should actually be defining the future of Johnson. And the piece, this liar's face, the picture. This picture has got on the front, on the back of the image of Johnson, smiling Tories. So these are the people who are smiling as he's lying. I mean, where do you begin with the total moral bankruptcy of Boris Johnson? Johnson is the one who has boasted on the record on so many wrong things he has said. For example, he has said that greed is good. Greed is not good. Greed is evil. Not only is greed evil in terms of the destruction of the planet, but greed is evil in terms of destruction daily, on a daily basis, of the very humanity, the very rights of people, by the conduct, by the behavior of the greedy. And the idea of society is actually based on the moral imperative, the need to deal with and stop the greedy ones doing greedy things that affect and violate the rights of others. Violate not just the rights of others, violate the lives of others and livelihoods of others. And Boris Johnson, which the Times or the Guardian, and we shall come to the Guardian comment piece by Simon Jenkins shortly. None of the papers, including the Daily Mail, which is running visually attractive kind of heading, like, is anyone in charge at number 10? Is anyone in charge at number 10? And that's the theme that the Mail is following, both in the piece by Andrew Pierce and also in the piece by Richard Littlejohn. Now, Littlejohn is not the only right-wing Boris promoter who is actually naming Boris Johnson as about to collapse. It's the completely shameless Scottish-born Trevor Kavanagh in the Rupert Murdoch SCUM that is also forced by the evidence, by the power of the evidence, that Boris Johnson is unfit for purpose and Boris Johnson is beyond being allowed to, justified to be in post, in power, is the leader of the Conservatives. So Johnson is not fit for purpose, and Johnson is not moral, Johnson is not responsible at all for the standards. In fact, Johnson doesn't believe in any standards. When Eddie Mair asked or told Boris Johnson on the Andrew Marr show, which the one-off edition of the Andrew Marr show that Eddie Mair was fronting and hosting, I think it was in 2013, he asked Johnson, "You are a nasty piece of work, aren't you?" Now, 13 years ago, in the 13 years that have elapsed since Eddie Mair called him the nasty piece of work, Johnson has not only accumulated more kind of records, done more perpetrations, nasty perpetrations. He has done that without any moment's thought about the impact and the implication of his lying, his dishonesty and his corruption. Because he has always been able to see that the Daily Mail, the SCUM, the Times, and the daily bribing Boris Johnson graph, and the Beaverbrook legacy of toxicity, the Daily Express group, These have all unconditionally supported Johnson. They've supported him. They have made excuses for him. They have made pretexts for him. And they have allowed him to ride ahead. Not only have the titles the Fleet Street papers have done, the most overly platformed promoters of Johnson's lying career have done that again and again and again for the 7 years. 2013 to now, 7 years, isn't it? 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 8 years. 8 years since Eddie Mayer directly confronted Johnson on the BBC television show Andrew Marr show and said to him point blank, "You are a nasty piece of work." For 8 years plus, Johnson has been committing more nasty things than had been known at the time that Eddie Mayer called him a nasty piece of work. And for the 8 years plus, all the Fleet Street papers, including the BBC, have colluded with Johnson's lying and his nastiness, his nasty work. Johnson has been nasty and corrupt and greedy while in post as the mayor in the name of London, at the expense of London, from 2008 until 2016. 8 years, 2 terms. And those 2 terms were, of course, the time that Johnson actually had several adulterous relationships while still married officially to Marina Wheeler. Of course, the most notorious name or widely publicized name now of the person he was in adulterous relationship with is Jennifer R. Khoury. Our commentary is nothing to do with what morality is involved in him being in adulterous relationship. Our comment is that he was lying. That's the point. He was lying to the people of London, the electors of London, and he was lying to his wife, his family, his children, and he was lying to the world. That is the point. That he was a liar then, and he has been a liar ever since. How can a liar of the description of the detail and the depth of Boris Johnson be even in a public post like the mayor at the expense of London, let alone a member of parliament, let alone leader of the Conservative Party, let alone being at number 10 Downing Street in the post of so-called Prime Minister? Johnson's list of kind of individuals who have been actually colluding with him and lying for him is so long and so exhaustive that this guy is Simon Jenkins. Now, Simon Jenkins is one of the longest running careerist, quote, journalist and commentator in Fleet Street. He has been the editor of the evening No Standard Standard. He has been the editor of The Economist. And he has been, of course, writing articles as a commentator in The Guardian, which is where he has been most prominent in his career. But he has also been involved with various so-called not-for-profit organizations. So he's not somebody that is part of the opposition. He's part of what is called the establishment. So Simon Jenkins is part of the establishment. So we'll come to Simon Jenkins a bit more later. This is the lying Trevor Kavanagh, the corrupt Trevor Kavanagh in the Dirty Murdoch SCUM. Now that picture, first of all, this is a completely corruptly posed photograph of Johnson, posing as if he's shell-shocked. He's shocked. And he has got some morality and he's got some concern and he's bothered about anything. This is a wrong photograph. This is the wrong photograph to be put in the pictures, in the articles, in the papers about Johnson at all, because he is not. That is the opposite of his feeling. He's a crook by design, by intention. He's a liar by intention. So this is supposed to be a critical piece by Trevor Terrible Kavanagh. And the Terrible Kavanagh piece is saying, if you think this sleazy disaster is bad, Boris, just wait till the cost of living crisis kicks in. Now that is completely dishonest and double-faced, two-faced. It's supposed to be written on the day that other papers are writing critically about Johnson, because the overwhelming evidence of Johnson being completely unfit for purpose and having corruptly backed the corrupt behavior of Owen Paterson. The jobbing commentator, Trevor Terrible Rubbish Kavanagh, chose appropriately so that he could keep in pace with the other titles, which he knew would be running critical pieces today, Friday the 5th of November 2021, and he has done that. He has done that, but he has done that typically dishonestly. He's not condemning Johnson for lying. He's saying, look at the heading, if you think this sleazy disaster is bad. He's not saying, if you think your sleazy behavior and corrupt behavior is bad. He's not saying that at all. He's holding somebody else responsible for Johnson's lying. And then he's saying, just wait till the cost of living crisis kicks in. Completely banal and stupid. Cost of living crisis is not a moral kind of consequence of an immoral regime, immoral cabal, immoral Johnson, who is loaded by Trevor lying Kavanagh on every wrong that Johnson has done. So he's not condemning him for his lying, his wrongdoing. He's actually warning him and he's focusing on Labour Party as the main problem. The Labour Party is politically already murdered by Keir Starmer. So there is no real Labour Party opposing Johnson. Now he's not writing against Boris Johnson. This is a whole typically corrupt piece of peddling and promoting Johnson by the lying Trevor Kavanagh, the crook. So this is the day when even the Times is calling Johnson's behavior shameful. Now, when the Crossrail project was being promoted by Johnson, Simon Jenkins wrote a piece in April 2009 in the Evening Standard. And the heading was, that is 12 years ago. 12 years ago, Simon Jenkins wrote a piece against Crossrail in the Evening Standard. Let's see if we can locate that piece. Well, that particular piece is not showing, but with a longer time to finding it, it may show, and we shall update accordingly. Now, what is the word depraved doing in the Sun today? It's about the serial evil man who is reportedly in the pictures in the news because he committed serial rapes of dead women's bodies in morgues. That is depraved and evil. And we have been using the phrase depraved DEFRA on behalf of Baby Angel Geronimo. Anything that is that bad, that evil is depraved, which is what the evil depraved DEFRA has been perpetrating against the most innocent Baby Angel Geronimo. And Boris Johnson, despite being told hundreds of times that DEFRA's defamation of the baby angel Geronimo was depraved and evil, the people who contacted Boris Johnson and sent him communications may not have used the word depraved, but we have been using the word depraved because of the evil involved in the depraved behavior of the DEFRA. So the facts of the depravity of DEFRA have been made known to Boris Johnson over the long period of 4 years plus, during which period the baby angel Geronimo has been targeted. Baby angel Geronimo has been targeted by the depraved DEFRA. And those involved in the depravity against baby angel Geronimo, the most innocent Geronimo, baby angel Geronimo, over the years, have included this woman called Christine Middlemiss. She is a corrupt criminal who has been centrally involved in conspiring and plotting a series of lies against the most innocent, healthiest baby angel Geronimo. So Middlemiss has been told to withdraw the lies against baby angel Geronimo, as has the depraved George Injustice Eustace, as has been the lying Boris Johnson. They have not withdrawn the lies they confected and they perpetrated and they repeated against the baby angel Geronimo. So that is depraved. Depraved of a description that fits the behavior of that evil one who has defiled the bodies, dead bodies of women he then defiled. And baby angel Geronimo has been, by all evidence, on all facts, the most healthy specimen of his species. And he has been defamed by the depraved DEFRA. And Boris Johnson has been complicit with the defamation of the innocent baby angel Geronimo. Now, today's Fleet Street newspapers and the rest of the imitations across the Little England about yesterday's, what they call U-turn, but actual forced a retreat by the liar Johnson about Paterson is so bad that even the dirty digger Rupert Murdoch's SCUM is running this editorial opinion which says, in the heading 2 words, Boris blunder. The Times, which is the other daily from the same stable, is calling Johnson's shame. And this one on the SCUM is saying Boris blunder. So there is a comparative kind of difference between those who write the Times and those who write the SCUM, in that the SCUM is still standing by the liar Johnson, merely calling it a blunder, whereas the Times is going far beyond that point and calling him shameful, and is saying that the Times is saying that Johnson's standing has suffered irreparable damage because of his shameful behavior, his lying. Now we shall come to the SCUM in a minute. Let's look at the editorial in the Times once again. Because one of the closest conservative promoters in Fleet Street for Johnson is, of course, this boy who is overrated at every level, James Forsyth. James Forsyth is the political editor of The Spectator, where the lying Boris Johnson committed his adultery with Petronella Wyatt. Now, Johnson's next problem is furious Tory MPs is the heading for the To the Piece byline to James Forsyth. And the detail in the subheading reads, Downing Street was warned that halting the Paterson verdict would go terribly wrong and revive memories of sleaze. Now that is clearly a corruptly, dishonestly written subheading. It's not memories of sleaze. Sleaze has never been in the past. Sleaze has always been the dominant feature of the Conservatives. So the Forsyth piece is dishonest. And despite the fact that its heading is Johnson's next problem is furious Tory MPs, it is again peddling Johnson. And Forsyth is actually admitting that Johnson is doing the wrong things because of a weak opposition. We don't agree. There is no opposition at all. The Labour Party has been politically murdered by Starmer. And that's why it matters. The evil land, the depraved regime fronted by Johnson, who is a fronter of the corrupt cabal, has taken this country into the evil land, evil era. So we say that all of these things are morally, ethically asserting the truth, which is what makes us the unique program, world exclusive diagnosis of Fleet Street. So we shall be looking at Simon Jenkins and the SCUM and other organs in Fleet Street later. We're calling this particular edition to an end. We are bringing it to an end at 12:31 hours GMT.